What are some reasons that y'all think that competition is present in relationships?
Pride. Toxic parents who say single woman and
Still trying to figure out who they are.
Narcissism.
Self-esteem.
the need for attention. A past relationship.
Welcome to Date Night with Coach. Dwayne Ebony Green here, and at some point I'm going to stop saying guest, but we got our favorite people here with us again, Jermaine and Sharika Jones. So we're going to continue to do this thing as long as they would, be willing to join us for this, for our nonsense, our madness, and share some great wisdom and some great insights with folks. Today we are going to do things a little different. All right. So I'm going to start off a little different today. Instead of, me introducing the topic and all of that, I'm just going to start off by asking a couple of questions to the group, and we'll just kind of share our thoughts on these questions. So the first question is, how do you feel when your partner is successful?
I feel excited. It gives me more reason to stand in my role as his helpmeet, as his supporter, and motivator. So I'm excited when he's doing well. And I can help push beyond just his potential, and making him feel confident in what he's doing. Don't you agree with that? Yeah.
I glean from her success. And I push her at the same time too, to make sure that sometimes, especially when you're married, I think it's a good thing for a healthy dose of pushing. And I think that it's easy for you to try to allow someone to just maintain, but when you know it's more there, and most of the time we will shy away from stuff that makes us uncomfortable. But when she succeeds, I succeed. Because we're a team, and we are two that have become one. So I glean from it. So when she succeeds, it makes me want to dig a little bit deeper to make sure that I'm trying to maximize all of my potential that I have to achieve whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve. So yeah, I glean from it and I push her into it to, let's go deeper into the success.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. I feel good because I have been part of the success. I have been your helpmate. We in this shit together, so I feel great. Yeah. I'm already under 24.
See, you're thinking about it on a larger scale, but I got you.
Oh,
So-
what was it?
Well,
So
for me,
it was very general.
yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I said you're thinking about it on a larger scale. So for me, I think about it from the perspective of small things, small victories, right? So when I look at Ebony and the things that she loves, right, the things that make her happy, the things that bring her joy, when she's in her element, when she's in her mode, I'm excited for her, I'm happy for her. You know what I mean? I come home and she working on a project that somebody has placed an order for something, for her creative, and I'm just like, babe, who you doing that for? Sometimes she get irritated with me. I be like, babe,
You know.
I be like, who ordered that? She be like, you don't know. I'm like, I know, but just, so I get really into it. She's making a wreath or something. I'm like, who that's for? She's making a custom, jacket or something. I'm really, I get really, really excited for her when she's, in that, because again, she's done a lot in terms of shutting down and really changing the trajectory of some things for herself, for us, and for me. So when she wins and when she's successful, I'm elated about it. So that's kind of how that works for me. All right, next question.
It was slow.
In what ways do you support your partner?
Wow, I'm definitely my husband's prayer warrior, for real. And also presence when I can be. So right now he's coaching baseball. something he probably should have done last year, but I won't even go there. I'm just glad to see him push himself outside of his comfort zone and step into something different. Because just a side note, as you guys probably have witnessed through the wisdom that Jermaine shares, he is very anointed. He has something to share with the world. And I want him to understand that his ministry goes far beyond just like the church building. And these are avenues in which the Lord has opened opportunities to push him to touch people in a larger capacity. So with that, you're more vulnerable when you go into different territories. So I believe for me, it's important to keep him covered in prayer. Not just to keep him covered though, but to help him remember why you're doing this. Like, you're equipped for this. Even when it looks contrary to what you want, there is still purpose in it. No matter how many people fall off, you're going to gain more. You're going to have the right people on your team. So for me, what I was saying, you know, because I could talk forever, but I'm learning, because almost every morning I will send him like a word of encouragement or a prayer. But that's because I see where God is shifting him in this season. So, prayer warrior. Yeah.
I would say everything. Anything at the time that I need to be.
Whatever
I mean,
you need to be, yeah.
Again, I can just consider myself as that helpmate. So it's like nothing's off limits.
Yeah, I like that response.
So for me, I would say the way I support is by being open to the shifts and changes in, I guess, her vision, right? So because she has submitted so much to my vision that many of the things that she desires, many of the things that she wants, even in terms of personal fulfillment, aren't large scale, because she gets most of her fulfillment out of me and the kids and the family, who she is to the family, right? So I think my support is really, in essence, what that word means. I lift her up so that any person that sees me knows who she is. Any person that, you know, here's my name, here's her name.
Yeah.
You know, so there's never a question in terms of the position that she plays in my life, you know, as a foundation, right? And so with that, it allows me to have comfort and confidence knowing that what she's doing and who she is to us, I'm able to kind of be a supporter to her in her efforts of you know, vulnerability and giving. It's not in vain. I make sure that she sees that. I make sure that she knows that and understands that everything that she does is much appreciated.
Oh, I love that.
I would say my support is flexibility and also understanding. And lastly, I would say patience. And the reason why I would say those three is flexibility is because I have to adjust, right? Because the way that she moves and shakes and what she does outside of her main occupation, she can be called upon at any given moment to, you know, present. And at that point, even if it's something that I may want us to do on the weekend, and the thing is, to go back to what she said, right? A lot of what we do is very much so ministry focused, right? So I can't really get upset or even get frustrated, you know, at that point, because I have to look at the bigger picture, right? So that's where the flexibility and the understanding really comes into play, because I have to understand that what she's doing is not just solely for us, but it's for her to fulfill her purpose to touch other people and to bless other people. So I think my third one, I say patience. Sometimes with flexibility and understanding is birthed out of patience, right? Because in order for me to be flexible and understand, a big part of patience has to come into play with that, because it's the timing thing,
Yeah.
right? And we talked about this in the last segment, but it's the timing thing because sometimes I may want to do something on this particular day at this particular time frame, and because opportunity calls, ministry calls, assignment calls, I have to understand at that point, bro, you gotta be patient. Like, I'm gonna give you the time that you need. It's just not the time that you feel like should be right now. So, I operate off of that too. And to pat my own self on the back, I've become more understanding, more flexible,
Yep.
and more patient
Yeah.
over
It's true.
some time.
Oh.
I didn't get there overnight, but
No,
I'm still
definitely.
working on it. But yeah, that was something that I had to understand, that being a part of a marriage, you have to support. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the main reasons why y'all got together, I would hope and pray.
Right.
So yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. And I thank God for the evolution, because there was sometimes in the beginning, with dance, and when I first started teaching Zumba at a specific time, he's calling like, you on your way yet? No, like we're not done. But now he just waits until I get home, because it's not just about me performing the task. I'm building a relationship too. So sometimes that requires me being a listener and conversing and all of that. So yeah.
Cool.
That's nice.
So this is the last question of this part for y'all. Describe your marriage.
It's like
in the-
school.
Yeah, it is. Describe your marriage in the context of being a team. I heard some remnants of it, but I wanna dive into that a little bit.
You go first
Right.
with the example, because I'm a little confused by that question.
So as a team, so again, in our date night session on the definition of marriage, right? We talked about marriage as a team, marriage as a covenant, marriage as a business, right? So that team concept, when you think about what the goal of a team is, right? The team's goal is to accomplish something, right? The team's goal is to win. And everybody has a role. We were fussing about how, the quarterback last time, right? So the team's goal is to
We
win,
weren't fussing.
right? And so whatever you're up against, you have to come together and have a strategy, right? And so for us, I think that early on, we were able to establish our roles and our position, right? That's day one of practice, right? You figure out, in terms of a team, you figure out, okay, who's going to play here? That's the first thing. You figure out what your skill sets are, you evaluate your people,
Yeah.
and then, okay, you're going to be here, you're going to be here, now let's go. And so for us, I think we were able to establish that relatively quick. And in doing that, everything else that kind of came down the pipe in our relationship, it kind of fell in line with what we established day one, right? And so our roles in some ways are like traditional roles, right? As a traditional old school type of marriage. But at the same time, we both understand and know, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. There are things that I know that I don't touch, that I don't need to touch, that I don't have to touch. There are things that I can communicate confidently to the children, like, nah, you gotta talk to her about that. You know what I mean? And so, and not have an issue or problem with that.
Yeah.
So essentially, I've been able to, and I spoke on this before, and I've been able to really maximize my strengths, right? My skills, because of my position, right? I'm able to play my position 100%. I don't have to kind of worry about if this is getting done. You know what I mean? And I speak a lot about team sports. This is kind of where the whole concept of coach mental health and everything came from. But, I learned in team sports that your job is bigger than you. And so knowing that if I'm successful in my role, it's for the greater good of the team. But if at any point I deviate from my role with a selfish intent, it can be to the detriment of the team. And so that's the mindset in our relationship. It's about us. So nothing that I do doesn't consider her, right? And I'm confident, I know that it's the same way. So we operate in that space, which allows us to kind of move and move freely. We fuss all the time. We talk all the time about everything. But we know for sure that any and everything that we do is on one accord and it's for our own, for our greater good.
Yeah.
So.
Great, thanks for that. That's ditto.
That was the word.
This girl is crazy.
That's like for both of us. We're a team. That was both of us. Like, you spoke for both.
So you using that?
So
Look, I'm gonna give him.
I like what you said, Dwayne. I like what you said.
That was good.
And being a head coach of a baseball team, one of the things that I always admonish our players to do is to make a play, right? And what I would say with us is that we understand our positions. However, what I do know is that we have an understanding of how we need to make the routine plays, right? However, making the routine plays does not negate from the fact that sometimes when it's time for routine plays to be made, sometimes you're not going to always field it perfectly. And sometimes you're going to make an error, right? But at the end of the day, I think once we remain focused on making a play, support says, even if you make an error, I have your back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So I think for us, we understand the positions that we play. We understand that the expectation is to make a play and make the routine play, right? But sometimes, even if the routine play may be messed up, sometimes out of nowhere, a highlight takes place of a play that you make that I didn't even know that you were capable of even making, right? And then that's when you really understand at that point, I'm on the right team.
Yeah, I like
Because
I like
at any given moment, if I don't make the play, my teammate's still going to have my back. And then it could come a time in the game where we really need that play to be made, and out of nowhere, your teammate ends up making that play, and it's like, whew, where I could have got upset, where I could have got frustrated,
Yeah.
she saved the day. So that's how I look at our team approach to our marriage, is playing our position. Expectation is to fulfill the routine play. But if it doesn't work, we still got each other's back to continue to make sure the next time we hit the field, we make it right.
That's good.
And you know what? But
Can't top that.
But I caught something with that though too.
Uh-oh.
What it does,
He normally does.
it gives you the confidence to gamble on the play. It gives you the confidence to do the things that you know you got to do because you know she got your back.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go out here and do whatever it takes, right?
Yep.
Great.
I like it. I love it.
So,
I did all that too. I did all this. All is mine. This man should read that. Y'all, the team spoke what we wanted to say. There you go.
We're in the right position.
I love it.
Y'all are terrible. So all of that said, when we talk about our partners being successful, there's an unfortunate state where some people don't want or even get upset when their partners are successful.
That's true.
Sometimes, instead of supporting their partners, some people sabotage their partners.
That's true.
And some couples don't operate as a team. They sometimes operate as if they're on opposing teams. And so with all of that said, when you think about that perspective, this brings us down to our topic that competition is a relationship killer.
Yeah.
And so we talked about operating as a team. We talked about all those things that we are to each other. and how we come together in our relationships to make it work, there are some people who focus solely on self and thus cause themselves to sabotage the team.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go into a couple concepts. I just want to talk about a couple things. And I want to hear from you guys. What are some reasons that y'all think that competition is present in relationships?
Pride.
Past.
Self-sabotage.
Elaborate
Not
on that.
fulfill what pay.
I mean, you can elaborate on whatever.
Oh,
points
you
that
can
you
go
want.
first. I mean, if you was in a relationship, a past relationship, and you felt like your past partner wasn't on your team, so you learned that behavior that I gotta operate for myself, or family dynamics, like Mom, when we talk about toxic parents who say single woman and it's you and save for that rainy day. That shit is toxic.
Right.
So stuff like that.
Yeah. I said a lot of things, but I think I said 2 things. But another thing is the need for attention. So transparent moment, when I first had Zakai, that's my first time really acting as a parent, like of a biological child. And it was a big adjustment for me, and I've shared about my past before, so I want to be a good mother. So I was trying to be that, but I'm fresh. Were we even married yet? No. So I was a mom first, then we get married. So I'm still trying to transition between the two, where he felt like I was lacking in giving him attention in different areas. But I was really trying to figure out, I felt that motherhood was my priority, and it was difficult to balance. And that was hard for us for a moment, but some way, somehow, I found my stride. But I think it also came with communication, because I was able to articulate, hey, I thought this is what I was supposed to do. I don't love you any less, but I don't know how to balance the two. Being a new parent requires a lot. You're learning new things about yourself. You're learning things about the kid, the right things to do, what not to do. And a kid requires a lot of attention too.
And side note, it whether it's 1 or 5,
Right.
it still is different every time you enter motherhood. Like, it is different.
Yeah. Yeah. And what most men don't admit, even when there is a 2-parent household, the primary caregiver role generally always falls upon the mom. So I'm just trying to do everything. Like, dang, like, can you understand for a second? But I do think if we weren't at a place of maturity, that definitely could have killed our relationship.
I would say self-esteem, and I would say really knowing who you are and what your worth is, and I think that too often, we have people that enter into relationships and enter into marriages with still trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah.
And I think that that's dangerous. And the reason why I think that that's dangerous is because if I'm still trying to figure out who I am, what makes me think that I'm equipped to love you and to handle you in the way that you really need to be handled when I don't even handle my own self?
Because I don't even know what I need.
Right.
Well, so at that point, to your point, then that's when you enter into a marriage with being self-centered, at the end of the day. And you think it's just something that's official because it's in writing at this point. So you really haven't embraced the mindset of 2 really becoming 1. Yeah. You're still entering into a covenant now and a marriage with still an individual
Me.
perspective.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said
Well, and I also think, just when you said that, it brought this in my mind, that people don't even know what marriage is, how it's supposed to look. Now, it is supposed to be different for each individual couple, But there's some qualities that resemble every marriage. Like we talked about the team. Whatever you're doing, whatever that team is playing, play it, but you're playing it together.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that people just don't understand that. Like,
And the other thing that I would say too is it's dangerous to enter into a relationship or marriage with a spirit of comparison.
oh my God,
Yes.
yes.
That was one on my
crazy.
list for
So-
relationship killer comparison.
Yeah.
So here we on it. Y'all on it. No, I was just like, yeah, y'all on it. Y'all no, I was just so air quotes. She hate air quotes. I know, baby. I ain't do air quotes. Y'all know she crazy.
Oh my God.
Oh, by the way, she beats me. So I say, so insecurity. I heard that because the reality is when you think about a person who is insecure, if my partner is successful, if my partner gets attention, if my partner does something well, that shines a light on all of the areas in my life that I feel that all of my insecurities, and I also
Right.
say inadequacy. So that kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right. So if I feel inadequate, and you do something well, now all I'm thinking about is why I can't do it well. Right. So now I'm now competing with my partner.
Right.
And I don't want you to do well for that reason.
Yeah.
Narcissism. Some people are just about them.
Yeah.
Some people have a mindset and have an agenda and a goal to essentially get what I can get from you. I'm gonna make you feel like you're wrong. If you're successful, you're doing it to try to upstage me, and I'm gonna make you feel bad about it, and all of that stuff. It's narcissism. Being unfulfilled.
Yeah.
If I'm unfulfilled and I don't feel like I've achieved what I want to achieve, and my partner is making some moves and doing some things, and it could be something even around the house. It don't have to be anything global or out in the world, career, nothing like that. But if I'm unfulfilled in any way,
Yeah.
right, that becomes a challenge. We talked about societal norms. We talked about family culture. Some families got a culture like, yeah, get yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see it in families where people are married, and you talked about it, sleeping in separate rooms. People are married but not together.
Yeah.
People are in it to get what they can get out of it.
Yeah.
And then capitalism. That's the society that we live in, right? That's the business side of marriage. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
Because when I'm focused on what's in it for me,
Yeah.
if I'm trying to get what's in it for me, sometimes that's going to come at your expense.
Yeah.
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 If that's my focus.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to unfulfilled and insecurity, because there's a difference. Because you can have a moment, right, that you do feel unfulfilled, or you do feel insecure about something, and still be a team player.
If you're perpetually in that.
But so I think it can go deeper than that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can go deeper, because to really take those two concepts and take it and turn it that you're against your partner that you committed your life to, I think it's bigger than that. I think you never should have been on the team in the first day.
Right.
Because you can be, like, literally, been there, done that. You have moments, because all those things you deal with, when you say you're going to commit to somebody for the rest of your life, you'd be a damn fool to think that there's not going to be one moment that you ain't going to be unfulfilled
Right.
or insecure.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way.
Right. So then when you go through the process of not resolving or even acknowledging those things, then that's when the whole timing piece comes in. Am I ready for the relationship? Am I ready for the marriage?
Right.
Right. And I also have a unconventional response to the list there of a relationship killer, which can be church.
I like that.
She ready to tee off.
Yeah, come on with it. Come on with it.
So, we started in church, obviously, in our relationship. And then as our roles changed and we became more involved with church, I'm not talking about relationship, I'm talking about church, the building, serving,
The politics.
etc. We would spend so much time in church, we wasn't given to each other. So I really would admonish people to understand their role for the church and their role in their relationship
Tell
and
them what
learn
your
how to
people said.
learn
So I
how
got
to
like
balance
that.
the two.
So I'm glad you said that. So I got to give a big shout out, man. When I was at, we were going to Greater Assembly Church, and I was actually, in training for deacon, and they called me and they wanted me to take that step, and I did that. And one of the first things that was told to me, and I heard it from a couple people, from Pastor Thomas, from Deacon Merrill, from the other Deacon Merrill, from Deacon Stokes, a couple people, and they were like, listen, you cannot commit yourself to serve in the church and allow the church to come before your home.
Yep.
If there's anything that's going on that you need to do at home, you take care of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want you, we want your commitment, but you got to take care of home.
Yeah.
Don't let anything come before home.
All right.
So I appreciated that, man, and I really,
Yeah.
I really salute them for that perspective and that stance that they took on that, no doubt. Yeah.
So to piggyback off of what you were saying, I think that being married, you have to understand that as individuals, it's not going to always be your winning season.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No
You
doubt.
know, but because we're married, we're winning together. So with the whole insecurity piece, I think people have to understand that. That
Yeah.
it's going to be shiftings where she may be in her season. Should I not be happy for her and her success? Now, of course, everybody wants to win all the time, right? But the prayer at that point is, God, what am I supposed to be doing now while I'm in my waiting season and not necessarily in my winning season, but my significant other is winning, And I think at that point, you have to really understand that when it comes to seasons are inevitable and they will always change.
But
Are you going to be prepared?
right, but the piggyback back off of that is that when your spouse is winning, ultimately you're winning. So like the beauty of the covenant, the marriage is that even in my season and it may look like I'm waiting, now my partner is winning. So there's still a win. There's still a win being taking place, because we can't say two become one, but then when you winning, why you winning?
Right.
Like, no, we winning. We just winning. Like, who cares who winning?
Right.
We winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And that comes with maturity because
That does.
an immature,
Excuse me.
insecure person, the way that their insecurity manifests could become downgrading, which causes self-sabotage to the relationship.
and another thing I think it is, I think ultimately sometimes you would never, because again, all these things we talk about is inevitable, right? You're gonna be insecure sometimes. You're gonna be feeling down on yourself. I feel like some people are with people they should have never been with.
Yeah.
I think I said this last
Say
time.
that all the time.
I say it all the time because I believe it. I
Yeah.
really believe this.
Yeah.
If you're not with your person, you're not happy they winning. You don't even want to be there in the first place.
Yeah.
You only there for the capitalism.
Benefits.
Like,
Yeah.
so you don't care if they win, lose, whatever, because you just trying to get yours.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
So talking about reasons, the next thing I want to talk about is the different ways in which we can see that competition manifest in relationships. What you guys think?
Well, I know for us,
Not
child.
necessarily with y'all.
Nah, I'm
but
just with
okay.
people, but I can always. The way I give my best advice is to be transparent about
Yeah, no
myself.
doubt.
Is just trying to be heard. So we might be talking like this, but you ain't hearing my point. And you ain't letting me finish. So now I'm gonna get loud because I just want to be heard. And it's not even so much about an argument. It's just like, wait, let me finish my rationale, and then maybe you'll have a better understanding of why I can't just give a simple yes or no. But my yes has an explanation, and my no has an explanation for a reason, you know, so wanting to be heard.
Oh,
That's a big trip, man.
Because it becomes like, no,
Oh my God.
no, but I said, and I feel, right, but I'm just trying to say, like, it goes back and forth, so it becomes a
we do
competition.
that too. Ooh, we do that. We have our worst times when that starts.
Yeah, it can get bad. And it can become a relationship killer for those who ain't strong enough to endure it.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, honey?
Well, I have nothing to say.
For the first time.
Please, whatever you do, don't cut none of this out. Don't cut none of this out. Oh my God. Ooh. Okay.
So I'll dive into the list.
Have at it.
So keeping score. Keeping score is a big one.
Yeah.
Anybody got anything on keeping score? Because you know when it's tick for tack, and
My Lord.
you know.
You got anything on that one? I'm not trying to be funny. I just,
You're not trying to be
know
funny. This shit is hilarious.
my husband's wisdom. I trust his wisdom.
I got a lot of it. Got a lot of it. I'm trying to unleash it as best as I can right now. But I just feel a little downtrodden right now. Don't worry. I'm gonna work myself through this stuff. I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Different ways
Tit for tat.
that competition manifests itself. When we're talking about the first thing was keeping score. That's one of the ways.
Yeah, I think immaturity will have you doing that. You know, at the end of the day, man. And I share this with people all the time, whether they're single or whether they're married. I think one of the biggest lessons that you learn in marriage is really how immature you really are. And I think that you, even when you feel like you have it together, if you're really honest with yourself, it's a lot of stuff that gets illuminated in marriage that will really prove to you you're really not
What you
as
think?
big as you think you are
Yeah.
in this particular area, right? And I think when it comes to the whole keeping score bit, that's dangerous to do.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we all don't mature at the same pace, right? So if I was a little bit, or I felt like I was a little bit more on the scoreboard than you at the time, right? What happens when I get to that place of not so much stagnation, but I'm maintaining and I'm not shooting for progression? And then my wife passes me in the score. Does that, then I will start to think that I'm not enough. Right? And then if I'm thinking that I'm not enough, then as a man, I can end up taking and embracing a much lower posture in my marriage than what the expectation is from my significant other. Right? And it can start to taint and harm my manhood. Because I'm starting to not only keep score, but now keeping score, it has to come with the spirit of comparison, right? Because either somebody's winning, somebody's losing, or we're tied.
And that's where that concept where everybody, you know, you hear people talking about marriage is 50-50, right?
Never.
Marriage is all you got at the time.
And
That's
so,
all you can
and
get.
so
you got
if you're
to
keeping
give.
score, right, that doesn't give your partner an opportunity to have a moment of insecurity or a moment of,
Right.
of being down or
Yeah.
a bad day.
To be human.
Because
Right.
What you doing is when you wake up in the morning, you got your sheet right here, and you like,
Right.
all right.
I'm at 100.
And then
Where
when
you at?
And then at the end of the day, you checking it at night. Like, let me see your paper. What you do today?
Right.
I start at 80 anyway.
You know, and so if I'm looking at it as a comparison, essentially, I'm looking as a capitalist. I'm looking at what I'm getting. The reality is, if my focus and my position is, I'm gonna give everything I got
Right.
to my partner. I'm focused on my partner.
Regardless,
And I think that's essentially where the problem comes in. Because when you get married, that's a selfless act.
Yeah.
You're focused on the other person.
Yeah.
But you go into that focused on yourself,
And the thing
you do.
is,
And who's to say that your scoring is legit?
that part.
because it's about you.
I like that. I like that.
You the coach,
'Cause you
the
never
player,
think
the
about that.
referee.
You
It's
all
all you.
players.
Right.
Yeah.
So you make the
Right.
rules.
Yeah.
So you the person that's controlling the narrative, right?
Yeah.
That I like that.
And that's because literally you're giving yourself points
For
that
just
your
being you.
significant other may say, like,
Nah, that ain't not.
why do you even consider that a score?
Right.
This is routine.
Right.
Right.
This
I
isn't
like that.
Basic.
you making an offensive score.
That's basic.
This is what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But you sitting over there giving yourself points saying, I did this, I did this, I did this. But at the end of the day, a real man and a real woman, I don't have time to keep score.
Nah.
Because
Because we be
I know
Scoring all
for
day.
a fact.
If I'm looking at the
Too
scoreboard, I
busy.
got work to
Too
do.
busy making things happen.
Right. And at the end of the day, if you're keeping score, your score more than likely will always be in the
your
negative.
face. Yeah.
Because it's always something that I can do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can capitalize on. So if nothing else, the scoring system, I would always want it to be 0-0.
Well, and then for me, keeping score signifies we're on opposing teams.
Yeah.
Because the only way you're scoring
Exactly.
is because we're against each other.
Right.
Exactly.
If we on the same
That's
team,
good.
we at the same score every
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
Precisely.
And I use this example all the time. You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yeah.
Hey,
Absolutely.
marry somebody that you want to, start with, and
Right.
then go from there. Because if you already at the bottom and that's what you chose, and that's what you're
And that's how some marriages turn
I
into
mean, I'm just
manipulation
saying.
because of that.
Yeah.
Marriages will turn into manipulation because of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So another reason, I'm sorry, another way that competition manifests. Partners are envious of each other's accomplishments.
You don't need to be married.
But it's out there though.
It's out there. Yeah, absolutely right.
out
So my suggestion would be, one, you definitely need therapy. You need to go talk to somebody.
It's true. I agree.
But
At
that-
the end of the day.
Individually and together.
and so that takes us right to the next one. The one up. Meaning, you got a raise, I'm gonna go
I'm
get a
go-
raise.
right.
You went back and got a degree, I'm gonna go get a degree. You know,
Right.
everything is not and so on the surface, right, when you think about the context or just the application of those things, there's really nothing wrong with the act, right?
Right. That's your reason.
And so
Motives.
it's one thing to say that, you know what, yo, my partner doing it. Motivate me. Let me get my shit together. Let me grind.
Right.
As opposed to saying, oh, nah, they got theirs. Let me go do
She
something.
ain't
Nah,
better
'cause-
than me.
Right.
Yep.
So again, that mindset says that because my partner did something well, that now speaks lowly of me.
Right.
So now I got to one up and get on top of them or make sure that we're here because there's some insecurity
Right.
with me that says if I'm not here in my own eyes, then I'm less than them. And then there's some threat to my security in my relationship.
Right. Which more than likely ties back to last topic of the traumas.
Yeah.
Right. That part.
And my objective, getting married, my objective should never be to want to expect for you to ever change. When I marry you, I'm saying to you,
We're changing.
if you never change,
I accept you as you are.
I accept you for who you are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Too often people get involved in marriages
For the
and
potential.
they expect change.
Think they can change them.
Yeah,
For the potential.
That's not what that is for. At the end of the day, we get married for two to become as one, to be the ultimate support to the other. So at the end of the day, I married her and accepted her for who she was. And if she never does anything else, that's why I asked you to be my wife.
Right.
Too many times people get married and they have unrealistic expectations.
Bro, you just said something. A couple things that jumped out at me. So, and I'll say that the couple, all of the couples in this room, I think, are solid. All of them, right? But there are some people who, one, you say you asked her to marry you, right? Some people ain't being asked to get married. We talked about it last time.
I was just about to say.
Some people are in long-term relationships,
Right.
and they just get married by osmosis. Like, we've been together.
Yeah.
Like, what is we doing? Is we is or is we ain't? You know what I mean? Like, right? People get married by ultimatum. People get married by force. And so, in those situations, it's not a mutual commitment. It's not,
Yeah.
again, a traditional thing where the man takes a step and says, yep, you know what, you my wife, let's do this thing, right? And then the woman says, well, yeah or no, whatever the case may be. But in situations where both parties aren't mutually as into the idea of taking that step, there's likely going to be a chink in the chain.
Yeah.
You know, there's likely going to be a chink in the chain, and then everybody isn't communicating their expectations going into a marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are getting married, and again, assuming that by osmosis, that once that step is taken, things are going to change. But there's work to be done.
Yeah. Always work.
There's work to be done.
Marriage is about support and building. We support each other, and the expectation is we build together.
And
Right.
And how, but whatever that looks like.
Well, but here's the
Whatever
thing,
that
though.
looks like.
And so, from the perspective of the competitive person in the marriage, marriage is about building. It's about me utilizing you so that I can be built. It's about us growing together in a way that's going to elevate me.
Right. Right.
It's about all things positive from you coming to me, all things negative about you getting the hell away from me. And so that when I'm speaking, because there are a lot of married people that say a lot of I's instead of we.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
me instead of us.
Yeah.
And so when you're married, and you can, I mean, you guys probably see it in your daily life. I know I do. When you talk about people who are married, and then just in conversation, you can tell. We had an episode some time ago talking about cheating. You know when somebody is, when there's a crack in the door, just by the way that people present. And so if somebody's speaking away about their spouse, about their relationship, about things that are going on in their world, you know if they tight or if they not.
Yeah.
It's not hard to tell.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about competition,